This is part of our series answering the question a lot of people ask after being fired: can I still get unemployment? Today, we're covering drug and alcohol use. Early in my career, I saw a case where a claimant tested positive for illegal drugs and was let go over it. The employer had no drug policy at all, nothing the claimant had ever seen or agreed to. That case went all the way to the state Supreme Court, and the court sided with the claimant. A positive test alone, with no policy behind it, wasn't misconduct. That's one state's law. At one point in time, drug and alcohol rules vary a lot from state to state. But the lesson holds everywhere. Getting fired over drugs or alcohol doesn't automatically mean you lose your unemployment. Your employer still has to prove it. Fired for drugs or alcohol usually falls into one of four situations. You failed a test, you refused to test, you were accused of being impaired at work, or your employer found out about something you did off duty on your own time. Figure out which one applies to you, because the rules are genuinely different for each. The rule underneath this whole series: the burden of proof is on your employer, not you. A positive test alone usually isn't enough. States generally want to see a certified lab, a confirmation test, and a real chain of custody, meaning the paper trail proving your sample wasn't mishandled along the way. Several states also expect the employer to show there was an actual written policy you'd seen and agreed to, not something they came up with after the fact. Refusing a test is usually treated like failing one, but only if the request itself was reasonable. A random test under a real policy is one thing. A demand out of nowhere, with no policy behind it, is another. Off-duty use, off the clock and off the premises, is generally not misconduct unless it actually affects your job or you're in a safety-sensitive role. And here's something people don't expect. Being upfront can actually work in your favor. Say you've had a couple of drinks after your shift, then get an emergency call to come back in, and you tell your employer that before you show up. If they require you to come in anyway and then discharge you over it, several states have found that cuts against a misconduct finding, because a lot of this comes down to whether your actions were willful. Prescription medication taken as prescribed isn't misconduct just because it shows up on a screen. Medical marijuana is genuinely a gray area right now. State law is all over the map, so don't assume either outcome there. And safety-sensitive or DOT-regulated jobs stack federal rules on top of state law. A positive test or refusal there can get you pulled from safety-sensitive duty fast, but that doesn't automatically decide your unemployment claim. The state still applies its own law to that. Get the specifics on your test. Which lab? Was there a confirmation test? And do you have the chain of custody paperwork? Find your employer's actual written policy and confirm you'd actually seen it. If this was a refusal, know exactly what you were asked to do and why. And file your claim no matter what reason your employer gives. Let the state make the call. Getting fired over drugs or alcohol isn't one single outcome. Your employer still has to prove it, follow their own rules, and connect it to your job. The full breakdown, including that case I mentioned, is on Substack. Link in the description.